It is extremely important that when we are feeling resourced, when we are feeling grounded and grateful and safe, that we are crafting powerful, affirming, life affirming stories for our planet and for our people and for all life on earth.
Hello and welcome to Wise Path Tarot. My name is Alicia Herrick and I'm your host. I've been reading tarot for over 20 years, and in this space, my intention is to help you leverage tarot as a tool for your own personal and spiritual development. In my own journey over the last 20 years, I have found tarot to be a powerful tool to help me learn how to access my own intuition and how to leverage it to live a more empowered life. And so that is my hope for you as well. A few years ago, I started teaching my signature class. It's called The Journey Through Tarot. And maybe one day you'll join it too. But here in this space, I'm going to be sharing weekly insights, spiritual insights that can help you ground into your body, access your intuition, and lead a more intuitive life. And I'll also share reflections on a card of the week. So if you want to learn more about tarot, learn how tarot can be a powerful tool in your own life, I invite you to stick around and hang out with me here at Wise Path Tarot.
Hello, friends. Okay, so my name's Alicia. From my intro, you know that I'm here to talk about some spiritual insights and the tarot. So, one thing that's coming to mind right now is, and I know that there are lots of people feeling this way, but this pressure to react to what's going on in our political world today, in the material world. And I have a lot of thoughts about this. First is, over the last few months, I've had people ask me, Alicia, what do you hope for in 2025? Or some variation of, how are you holding these things? And what are you focusing on? Or what are we going to do here in this world? Considering that we are now dealing with a second term. And one thing that I want to, there's a few things that have been kicking around in my head about this. The first is I was holding very tightly to the idea that it wouldn't happen. I was holding very tightly to the hope and the possibility that something would change or something would shift or something would happen. And partly because I was listening to a lot of psychics saying that this wasn't going to happen, or that, the astrology was saying this, predicting that, he wasn't supposed to hold office, whatever. And so I was kind of having this experience where my mind was being split in two. There was the hope that I was holding out that this thing would not come to pass, that has, and this really, really grounded awareness that I need to stay present with my body. And so over the last couple of months, I was kind of holding on to this, but also in the back of my mind, I knew that things were going to get worse before they get better. Now, when I say that, what I mean is, for many years now, and this is going to feel very resonant for those of us who've been on a spiritual path for a long time, or have had spiritual mentors or teachers over the last decade, that this is the time that we've been preparing for. This is the time that we've been doing all of our deep spiritual work in preparation for. And I don't say that to sound ominous. I don't say that to, scare people. What I mean by that is, now is the time to stay grounded in the chaos. So all those years of doing our healing work, of learning how to manage our triggers, of learning how to respond as opposed to react to life, to situations that are unpredictable, to uncertainty, to change, all of that time spent developing that capability, it was for this. it is extremely important that as we navigate the next however many years in the material world, as things are going to be in constant flux, in constant change, that we maintain a sense of internal groundedness, that we are able to stay in a sense of internal alignment, knowing who we are, knowing what vision we're working toward. And that was really the thing that was coming through for me at the end of November, December, and early January. It's not about how am I going to cope with this inevitability of reality. It was more of what vision am I crafting? And I say crafting very carefully. You know, as a witch, I've always believed that our words are our spells. And so it's extremely important that we are conscious of the spells that we are casting over our life and over the world. And that's why I choose my words very carefully. So if we are looking at the landscape today and we are casting spells with our words of demise, of terror, of what have you, that's power. It's powerful, whether you believe in it or not. And so I have to make a concerted effort, a concentrated effort to craft a spell over my life and this world that recognizes the reality of the present while maintaining a clear vision of the future. And so this is really important. And I think that this is something that I think a lot of indigenous cultures have done very well. There are many prophecies, many stories that have lasted throughout generations. Just some that I've heard of in my journeys are the whirling rainbow prophecy. There's the stories of the seven generations, and we are at that 7 generation mark. So there have been stories passed down from generation to generation speaking of this very moment in time. And so it is our duty as crafters, as witches, as intuitives to begin crafting the next story, right? It is important that we begin crafting, and we sometimes refer to this as like, you know, dream weaving or story weaving or storytelling. And so it is our duty, those of us who are resourced and able to, which I feel extremely privileged to be able to say that I can have that capability. But it is extremely important that when we are feeling resourced, when we are feeling grounded and grateful and safe, that we are crafting powerful, affirming, life affirming stories for our planet and for our people and for all life on earth. And so this is what I mean by earth wise, wise path. These are the reasons why I've branded the work that I do in the way that I do, because it's crafted around this vision of what is possible and what I want to see occur in the world. And this is, I just can't stress enough how important it is that we choose our words carefully at this particular moment, that we have really clear boundaries about what information we are taking in and what information we are sharing. Right now, it is very, I want to say, alluring. I want to say it's very almost exciting to be reactive because it makes us feel like we're doing something. When things are very uncertain, when things are very tumultuous, sometimes we think that our voices are saying something is the same as doing something. Those are not the same thing. So we have to be very mindful about what we're doing, and that we're doing things with intention, that we're speaking with intention, and that we are not just reacting. We need to really be thoughtful about every choice that we make having a 7 generation ripple effect. in all directions, right? These are also other spiritual principles that everything we do now has a ripple effect forward, back, up, down, and across, right? All time, realms, and dimensions. So it's really, really important that we are clear in who we are, what our values are, and what it is that we are walking toward. What vision are you walking toward? Let me tell you my vision. So, in my visioning that I've been doing, especially over these last few months, is really a vision where we are prioritize and affirming life in all of its beautiful, diverse forms, that we have established a sense of dignity and rapport for all beings, sentient, non sentient, human, animal, flora, fauna, that we have a way of being in intentional, sacred relationship with one another, that we have a deep sense of reverence and respect for the rhythms of the planet that we are a part of. We are not just residents on this earth. We have come from the earth, and to the earth we will return. This is our home. This is our spiritual connection. So, in my vision, we have a returning to an awareness of and a grounding of being in a reverenced relationship with the planet, with Earth, with the great Earth Mother. And that vision is clear, and sometimes it is hard to sustain it. Sometimes in the chaos of the moment, it's hard to keep it clear, but that is why it's so important to be super mindful about what we're taking in, and again, what we are working toward. How are we using our voice? How are we using our actions to bring forth the vision that we are holding? And how are we, when we are reacting, only perpetuating the narrative and the story that's destructive? There is a rightful criticism and critique, I think, of people who leverage spiritual practices as a means to divest and escape from the reality of life. I am not escaping from reality. I am looking reality in the face and saying, yes, and. Yes, and I see us getting through this stronger. Yes, and it's going to be very uncomfortable, painful, and dangerous for many of us, but we will persevere and we will get through. Yes, and there's so much we have learned over the last 2-3 decades that we are ready to put into practice. Yes, and the tipping points that we are made to be aware of or made to be afraid of have a counterbalance tipping point that is just as powerful, and a counterbalance to the narrative and the story of doom and gloom. And so delight in that possibility. Delight in the vision that is life affirming. Delight in the joys of your life in the day. And this is the other thing. The more that we can anchor around our joy, the more that we can anchor around our delight and our pleasure from a sincere and conscious place, not from a place of escape. If we are only accessing joy, delight, and pleasure as a means to escape from our pain, that is the spiritual bypass. We have to feel grounded in our delight and our joy and our gratitude as a means to bring it forth in our life. Now, if this all makes sense to you and you are into this, I want to hear how you're holding things. I want to know if you think there's something I'm missing. And if this feels like totally not the right space for you, or not the right story, or not the right narrative for you, then I respect that. And I hope that you find the stories and the efforts and the actions that are aligned to what it is that you need right now. And if this ever feels like the right thing for you again, I would love to have you back. But I trust fully in your ability to make that determination for yourself. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and pull us a card for the week. And I will mention that over the last week or so, I've been pulling a lot of the death card. And when I think about the death card, it speaks to not just, death and dying in a literal sense, which tarot's hardly ever literal, but death in the way of letting go of the illusions, letting go of the illusions of how we thought the world should be, or how we thought society would be, or how we thought things would shake out, and really starting to grapple with reality as it is. Really sitting with that discomfort and choosing to be with it. The yes, and yes, it is uncomfortable, and I'm still going to craft my vision for peace. Yes, it is uncomfortable and frightening, and I'm still going to enjoy and love and delight in the people in my life. The yes and is a very powerful technique, a very powerful tool. And as I imagine and think about how the death card is showing up, I think a lot of people are finally coming to terms with reality as it is. So, with that, let's imagine for a moment, wherever you're listening to this, that this card serves you in the time and place and space that you are. May it serve you for whatever it is that you need on your journey today, uh, whatever insight and wisdom you need for your journey right now. All right. So the card is the Five of Pentacles. And what's really interesting about this card is it really is about being in those two places and grappling with the tension between feeling the emotional weight and stress of whatever it is happening in the world, and finding that place of gratitude, finding that place of sincerity, of feeling like you're going to be okay. And so this is an invitation for you to find some footing internally. Look around at your life, take an assessment of your life, and really tell yourself the truth. How bad is it? What can you be grateful for? What are things that maybe you think you should feel bad about that really aren't that bad? So often, when things are in turmoil in our external reality, we look around at our life and think, God, and I don't like that couch, and I don't like that room, and I hate this neighborhood, and I do this, and we say all these things to ourselves without recognizing and having the deep sense of gratitude for where we are. And it is from that place of gratitude that we can find a place of grounding in ourselves in order to feel that sense of anchor in the storm. To feel that sense of groundedness in the chaos has to start with a sense of gratitude for what you have today. So take an assessment of your life. Look at your life today and find, I'm going to challenge you to just find 5 things. Things you can count on with one hand. Find 5 things in your life today that you are sincerely grateful for. Sincerity is huge here, but tell yourself the truth. Tell yourself why you're grateful for that. How does it support you in your life? How does it help you to feel a little bit more grounded? And every day, anchor around those 5 things. anchor your awareness and your attention around the 5 things that help you feel grateful and grounded. That is the message. I hope that that serves you wherever you are in your journey, whenever you are listening to this episode. Again, my name is Alicia. Craft that vision for yourself. Hold that vision for what is possible beyond what is real today. So remember that yes, and yes, today is the way that it is, and I have a vision for tomorrow. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Wise Path Tarot podcast. My name is Alicia Herrick, and you can find out more about me and my work at wisepathtarot.com. There you can find ways to book either in-person or virtual readings with me. You can also subscribe to my newsletter, which I highly recommend, so that you can stay up to date on any future offerings or opportunities or classes. You can also find on my website the Witchery magazine. This is a seasonal magazine that I published. Right now we are in the middle of winter, so you can still get your hands on the winter issue of Witchery magazine. It has a lot of really lovely things, including DIY rituals, some insights, an interview with an Akashic Records reader. It is a free digital magazine. I highly recommend getting your hands on that before the end of the winter season. And with that, I hope to see you around next time.